In this video, we're going to take the time to talk a bit more about limits and think about them graphically. I think personally it helps me a lot with limits and thinking about them, understanding them a bit better, and hopefully maybe we'll do the same for you. So there's a lot going on initially when you first look at this screen, okay? Just kind of ignore this over here for now. Okay, we'll get to that here in a second. Okay, but over here we have the graph of some function, okay, f of x. And you know, it's kind of broken up into pieces. So again, that's kind of how I think about it. And as we try to answer these specific questions, we're going to refer back to the graph. So let's go ahead and get that done. One important thing to notice is, okay, I do have this vertical asymptote here drawn in at x equals -6, and we're going to use that to our advantage. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump in. This first question is asking us to find the limit of f of x as x approaches 0. Okay, I don't have 0 actually written down here, but here at our origin at x equals 0, okay, if you look at f of x, okay, it's crossing right here at 1, okay, and it's a nice value, okay, there's no hole or gap there or anything like that. We can just see that this value is 1. Okay, that one's pretty simple. Let's go jump down to this next one. Limit of f of x as x approaches -6 from the left-hand side. Okay, remember this, and what seems like an exponent of just negative, that means we're approaching whatever value from the left-hand side. Okay, so over here at -6, we're approaching -6 from the left-hand side. That means we're using this part here. Okay, and notice what's happening as we're getting closer and closer to -6. Okay, this function is starting to increase pretty rapidly. Okay, and as we're getting closer and closer and closer to -6, okay, it's kind of blowing up to positive infinity. Okay, it's just going to keep on increasing up to positive infinity. Okay, next one, the limit of f of x as x approaches -6 from the right-hand side. Okay, the positive side. Okay, and I'm approaching -6, so over here from the positive side, from right-hand side, and it looks like this one is starting to decrease very rapidly as we approach -6. Okay, and of course, you know, I could have drawn this where the arrow keeps on extending down. Okay, but what's happening is it is tending off towards negative infinity. Okay, it's going to keep on going down as we're getting closer and closer to -6. Okay, so we have negative infinity. And now the point really we're trying to drive home with this is for this next one, the limit of f of x as x approaches -6. And here we're not specifying from the left or right hand side, we're just saying -6. Okay, what's happening as we get closer and closer to -6? Well, it's nice that we did these two first, okay, because we can either use this information, these two answers, or just looking at the graph, we can see that depending on which way you're coming from, whether it's from the left-hand side or the right-hand side, you're approaching different values as you approach -6, okay? And if you're approaching two different values, depending on which side you're coming from, left or right, okay, that means limit does not exist. Okay, there is no limit as x approaches -6. Again, because it's a different value depending on which way you approach from. Okay, lastly, limit of f of x as x approaches +4. Okay, so we're over here now looking at this function, all right, and let's take into consideration what we did for these last three. Okay, if we look at, as we approach 4, as x approaches 4 from the left-hand side, okay, it looks like we have a value of 3, okay, the y value of 3. If we approach 4, as x approaches 4 from the right-hand side, okay, we give you a y value of 8. Okay, so we have two different y values that f of x is approaching. Sorry, as x approaches 4, okay, f of x is approaching two different values, again, depending on which way you're coming from. Okay, and when that happens, okay, the limit does not exist.